Debt collectors have placed over 261 million negative trade lines on individuals' credit reports, and that's a report from the CFPB in 2022. The numbers have even increased more in 2023. Now, the good news is that the majority of the negative trade lines that were placed on individuals' credit reports in 2022 were from medical collections, and we all know that any medical collection that is $499 and below should not be on your credit reports anymore. If they are on there, all you have to do is notify the furnisher. If you notify the credit reporting agencies, they're not going to do anything about it. They're going to just defer to their customer, who are the debt collectors or the medical providers who placed information on your credit reports, and then they have to get it removed. So any medical debt that is on your credit reports right now that is $499 and below must be removed off your credit reports, regardless if it's if you can't even pay it. It just has to be removed. Now, another thing is that if it's $500, that's the crazy thing. When they did when they made the law, they said $500, but we will see that if you have it for $500 and you do the furniture dispute with them to get it removed, is that a lot of them that are right at $500 and up will stay on your credit reports, which is crazy. So it's $499 and under. Now, but if you have a medical collection on your credit reports and they are talking about the procedure that you had by the way that the medical provider's name is shown, you can get that information removed. And then also, mostly all medical debt can get removed off your credit report, regardless of the amount that you owe, because if they've shared your information with a third-party debt collector, or even rarely are debt collectors buying medical debt now. They're hired by the medical providers to go after people for the debt. But even just sharing that information about, when you do a validation to them about the medical debt, they will usually just remove it. If you do it the right way, they will usually just remove it. And just to let you know, this video was not going to be on medical debt. It's specifically going to be about the trade lines. In this report from the CFPB, they said 261 million trade lines, negative trade lines, were added to consumers' credit reports in 2022. They said that it went down from a higher number. It didn't have that number in here, or I can't find it right now. But it said that it went down, and that was due to the medical, them taking off the medical trade lines where they could not put those on there. But there is an increase in 2023 because of the defaults with credit cards and the defaults with personal loans. So right now, with 261 million trade lines, these are negative trade lines. These are from debt collectors. These are from debt collectors placing negative information on people's credit reports. And so they are doing this. This is a lot, millions of negative trade lines affecting consumers' credit scores. And it states this in the CFPB report. If you want to look at the report, just look at the trending third-party debt collector trade lines. You can search that at the CFPB. But what this is about is that I saw a video pop up. I think I saw it on TikTok, and it said that you don't have to pay a debt collector. Don't worry about paying any debt collection company who buys your debt and places that information on your credit report. And what I want to do is I want to clear up the misconception, because people are being hurt by this. People are being hurt when people listen to statements like that, because what it does to a person is it makes them not take action on something that they need to take action on. So just as a review, you know that this will happen because number one, the CFPB didn't say that it was illegal for them to put that information on people's credit reports. It said how many negative trade lines were placed on individuals' credit reports. You have videos saying you do not have to pay a debt collector, don't respond, they have no contract, all of that stuff. But in reality, and that's what we talk about here on this channel, in reality, people are having negative information placed on credit reports. People are getting their credit scores affected by the information that's placed on their credit reports. People are being sued by the from that information that they did not take action on, that started with them placing that on their credit reports. People are losing out on being able to move forward in their life, either with jobs, if they have jobs that deal with money, or even regular jobs where they just check your credit reports to see how you're managing your life. People have missed out on being able to get a home, to get a low price, a low interest rate, and a low payment on a new car, all types of things. See, people are missing out because they're taking and listening to what other people say that are just making videos that don't deal with people, that don't have to hear people. See, you can make videos all day about this stuff, but when you actually are on where you get to listen to people and see what they're going through, how their lives are being affected, and then you have to approach these debt collection companies and either figure out if that client owes them or not, or to work out some sort of resolution so that individual can move forward in their life. So let's start at the beginning. When a debt collector buys your debt, this is the process that they're going to go through. Number one, they can buy your debt. They can buy your debt, even if that debt is past the legal statute of limitations to be able to collect. They can legally buy the debt. Some people don't even believe that a debt collector can buy a debt. When your debt is charged off from the original creditor, that is only an accounting entry to take it off of the books that are performing accounts. It does not mean that it has disappeared. It does not mean that when they put on there that it's written off, that it was forgiven, that you don't have to pay. It does not mean that they cannot sell it. It does not mean that they've went into your secret bank account and did a 1099-A for you abandoning the property and got the money. It does not mean none of that stuff. What it does mean is that they're going to either hire a debt collection company to come after you, depending on what type of account it is and what creditor it is. Some creditors do not go after people. They sell the debt and they just continue on with their business. In some states, they do not allow original creditors to do their own debt collections. In my state of Wisconsin, it is illegal for an original creditor to also collect on debt. They can call if you owe them, but once they charge off the debt, they cannot call you about the debt. They can if they have a department set up to do that. And you will see with American Express, Discover, Barclays, and Capital One, they have a collection division, a separate company that is registered with your state to collect on, to go after and collect on the money that is owed to them. But if a debt collector buys your debt, because this is what the whole thing is about, this is what got me motivated to make this video, is that when a debt collector buys your debt, this is what you got to go through. Is the first thing you want to do is you want to check the statute of limitations for the debt. Check the statute of limitations for the specific debt that is on the letter that they sent you. And they must communicate with you in writing first. They cannot call you up. Now, you might be saying, well, how did they get your information? They got the information from the last address that you had with the original creditor. Well, what if you moved? Then they're going to skip trace you from your credit reports to see where you're at. What's your new current address? So you might be saying, well, what if they call you first? they've just violated the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act by calling you first. You should immediately tell them to send you the letter that they sent you before they called. And if that letter is not dated prior to that phone call, all you have to do is send them a letter back certified stating that they just violated the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act by not giving you the opportunity to dispute that debt. Because when they called you, all they did is they just talked to you about the debt. And they're supposed to give you that dunning letter. This is an official letter that tells you who the original creditor was, who they are, how they got the debt, and then it gives you the opportunity to dispute all or a part of that debt. And that must be written in that letter. And that font size must be the same font size as it is with all of the rest of the letter. And they give you 30 days to do that. If you do not respond to that in 30 days, you start a chain of events that will allow them to make it tough on you. Because if you do not respond, the way the law is written is that you are actually saying, yes, I owe this debt. I know that sounds crazy, but if you do not respond to that 30-day letter, you are saying, yes, I owe this debt collection. I owe this debt collector. That's how they're able to do this with that, putting that negative trade line on your credit reports. So do you see the connection? I hope you are understanding the connection. If you do not respond to the 30-day letter, you are setting off a chain of events which allows this to happen with the 261 million negative trade lines. That's how the law is written. Now, you check your statute of limitations. It's different for every state. You can go to the creditrepairshop.com website. On my blog at the bottom, type in statute. I have the statute of limitations updated for each state. And if your debt is past the legal statute of limitations, you do not have to pay that debt collector, but you do have to notify that debt collector that you have no legal obligation to pay them according to the laws of your state for collecting debt, and that you want them to cease all collection activities. And you do not, they should not be selling that debt to anybody. You can put that in there if you want to go over and above. If the debt is past the legal statute of limitations, that's all you have to do. You do not have to do a debt validation. No debt validation if your debt that they're trying to attempt to collect from you is past the legal statute of limitations to collect. There are two types of statute of limitations. And this is not the statute of limitations for your credit reports. So specifically, this is not for the statute of limitations, which is 7 years to remain on your credit reports. So think about that. If you don't respond and you don't do anything to deal with that debt collector, they have a 7-year time clock that you've just allowed them to start with that negative information on your credit reports if you don't do anything about it. There is, for regular debts, a statute of limitations for your state. There is a federal statute of limitations for utility type debt, cell phone, cable bills, electric bills, all of those types of debts. There is a 2-year statute of limitations that you need to be aware of. So even if your state says for debt collection, for a cell phone bill, well, you're saying that cell phone bill that you have and it says the debt statute of limitations is, let's just say 6 years, like in Wisconsin. If it's a communications or a utility type debt, utility bill, cell phone bill, cable bill, and I would even throw in any apps that you might have that bring in any type of communications, such as radio, XM, all of that type of stuff, would fall under utility. And that it would be under a 2-year statute of limitations. Now, let's say that your debt is not past the legal statute of limitations, and they've sent you the 30-day dunning letter, which is required. First thing I want you to do is, if they've sent you a postcard, they've automatically violated the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act by sharing your information with a third party. If they call your job, they violated. If they spoke about who they are, if they say, well, we're trying to get in touch with Steve, and this is debt collection company AYZ, they've already violated, even though they didn't talk about the specific debt. They violated, so they can't do that. They can't call your neighbors. They can't call your friends or family. They can call people who you put on that reference application just to see if they could get in touch with you. They can do that. It's a gray area on what they can say and what they can't say, but you probably had it before. People will, your friend, if you have a debt collection, they'll be like, I got this crazy call from someone was saying, have I talked to you lately? And can they get your number because they're trying to reach out to you? They can do that, but they cannot talk to them about your debt. And if they mention their company, they violate it. So it is it's a strict rule, but some of the times our friends and family may not even remember that it was a debt collection company, but they know it's a debt collection company, and you'll be like, well, did they say there was a debt collection company? No, they didn't say they were, but I got that feeling like it's for a debt collection. So now, remember, they got that 30-day letter, and when you get that letter, the first thing that you need to do is you need to review it and make sure, number one, that it was not from a third party. Because even if they send you that 30-day letter, look at the envelope. Look at it. If it looks like it had any type of meter, postage meter, if it looks like the return address is going to some type of mailing center, they cannot do that. They must send all of this stuff from their office, because you have not, and the FDCPA, the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, does not allow them to share your information with the third party. So these are like little bitty details that you must pay attention to that other people don't talk about, that could potentially get you out of paying a debt. Just because they just made a violation, it could potentially get you out of paying that debt. So pay attention to that letter. And if it's from a third party, let's move forward. We're going to talk about what we're going to do with a third party. If it's from the original creditor and they're using a third party debt collector or second party, I always say second. When third is when they buy it. Second party. So first is original creditor. If they send you a letter saying, hey, we want you to pay this debt. Second party is within the original creditor's company. They may have a division, a separate licensed company to collect on the debt. And then that's what you could, they can talk to you about it. And they can also talk to you about it verbally. Now, let me talk again about verbal. When dealing with third-party debt collection companies who have purchased your debt, they cannot call you first legally. They must send you that 30-day letter. When dealing with original creditors and second-party debt collectors, they can call you because they're the original creditor. And as a matter of fact, a lot of people don't even know this, that a first-party original creditor is not beholden to the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act. You might be saying, well, what if they try to unfairly collect on the debt? Well, that's going to be a whole different thing, but an original creditor is not under the FDCPA, the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act. They are not beholden to that. They have all of your information. They are the original creditor. That they signed the contract, loaned the money, or did whatever they did for pertaining to whatever agreement you had with them, and they're able to pursue you without worrying about the FDCPA. So I want that to be clear. And with their second party, which is a debt collection company that represents them or a division within them, they are not under the FDCPA if they are a company that's within their company that's licensed. They must be licensed also. So I hope we got all of that. So now let's deal with the third party. debt validation. And this is what I think a lot of people skip to, is that they don't really review that other part. And the reason why they don't review that other part is because they don't go through that. They kind of briefly go over it, and they tell you the potential outcome, but the potential outcome can't get to that potential outcome if you don't know what happens at the beginning, and if you don't know how to respond to everything at the beginning. Because if that was not true, what I just said, there wouldn't be, just like what's in this report, 261 million negative trade lines placed on individuals' credit reports from debt collectors, not counting the original creditor. So if you have 261 million negative trade lines placed by debt collectors, that means that there's 522 million negative trade lines in that year on individuals' credit reports. That's a lot. That's the original creditor and the debt collection company. So now, if a debt collection company, third party, buys your debt, this is what you need to do. A debt validation / verification. When you get that letter, what you're going to want to do, and I'm going to tell you, I'm going to give you a letter to get this started. So don't worry about that, but I want you to listen to me so you can get this, get this process down. Is first, you want to look at any disputes that you may have with the original creditor. I have people who have said, hey, I had a credit card with this credit card provider, and I was disputing all of this stuff. We were going back and forth, and all of a sudden they closed my account, and they're just not even responding. It's like they just gave up on this whole thing. I just woke up one day, tried to use my card. It was closed. I called them, and they said that, hey, your account is being moved to the collections division, without any response about the disputes that they had. So if you have any disputes with the original creditor directly with them, you need to make that notation, because you're going to be putting that in your debt validation that you have with the debt collector who had purchased your debt. Now, the next thing that you're going to want to do, and this is preparing you just in case they decide to try to take you to court, is that you're going to want to review the contract with the collector. You're going to want to ask for that information. You're going to want the original contract with the original creditor. You're going to want all of the history regarding the account. You're going to want all of that stuff, because this is how you're going to build your side to even see if they're going to be able to come after you, if they're going to have the appropriate paperwork. By asking for all of this information, it is more than just saying, I'm not going to pay you, it's not me, all of that type of stuff that you see other people tell you to do. What this is doing is just giving you all of the information, and it's also doing something else that that you may not even understand, which is something that I learned by doing this for a number of years, is that when you start to ask certain questions, certain ways to debt collectors, they know you're not the one to be playing with, to be played with. That you're taking this serious, and that you're going to walk this step by step by step to make sure that they have everything that they must have to be able to get you to pay that debt. And that they better have gotten all of the information and not have rushed through and disregarded certain items because they just believed that you were not going to respond, and that if they took this to court, it was just going to automatically be a default judgment. Like most people, like 98, I think it was, the last numbers was 98.5% of the cases are default judgments. Like 98%. So of this 261 million, now most of them are not high enough to where they're going to go and try to do a lawsuit on, but a huge number of them are, like millions. And most people don't even show up to court. Most people don't know how to even respond to their to that court summons. This right here will get you ready if they do decide to try to come after you, but it'll also get them to understand that you're not going to let them just walk over you, and that you're going to make them prove everything along the way. And that is how you beat back debt collectors. You don't beat back debt collectors by just not answering the phone and running away. So if you have debt collectors coming after you, please review this. And then also, if you have debt collectors coming after you, I'm going to give you 3 letters that you can use: a statute of limitations letter, a cease and desist collection activities letter to stop debt collectors early in the game, and a debt validation letter, because they might go back and forth, because they do not give up easy, because they make millions of dollars by going after people for debts that they've purchased. They're not just buying them, even if it's pennies on a dollar. They don't just buy them just to, play games. They buy them to make money. They want a return on the investment. So take this serious. Don't believe that a debt collector will not come after you, and do everything possible if the debt that you owe is high enough. They will come after you for that debt. And even if they don't come after you for that debt, if they place it on your credit reports, like they did with these 261 million negative trade lines placed on individuals' credit reports, it makes it tougher for you to move forward in your life. So even if it's a minimal debt collection, $200-300, that is just sitting there unresolved, that $200 and $300 that you don't pay them could cost you $200 to $300 a month with any type of other credit that you get established. It could even cost you a job if you're going to be in the financial or insurance industry. So be aware of that. So those 3 letters, there's a link below this video. You can grab those. I do ask for a donation, but you don't have to do that. If you feel that you want to do a donation, it can save you time, money, frustration. I'm giving you the exact template to use to get things started. If you need help with your credit, please visit us at thecreditrepairshop.com. Watch the video, What Makes Us Different, so you can see my 8-point validation process and my 2-phase settlement process. If you need your credit reports and scores, go to the website your3scores.com. Please like this video. Please post your questions and comments. I'll be in there answering them. Thank you for your time. This is Stephen A. Williams, President and Founder of thecreditrepairshop.com.